The teenage strand of Stranger Things is infused with 80s horror references and updates to the classic tropes of 80s teen movies and music. Nancy in Stranger Things is reminiscent of Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street, especially when both resolve to go after the monster themselves.
I want to kill it.
Just give me some help nailing the guy when I bring him out.
Nancy and Jonathan try to kill the Demogorgon in almost the same way as the Nightmare teens do Freddy Krueger. They booby-trap a house and engulf the monster in flames. In both Stranger Things and Nightmare on Elm Street, the teens seem to be successful at first, but they've only injured the monster, not killed it. Both stories are about teens on the threshold of adulthood, having to deal with a monster when the oblivious adults don't believe them. Like Freddy Krueger, the monster also has long spindly hands and appears seemingly out of nowhere. And the way the wall stretches when the monster tries to break through in Stranger Things is a direct homage to the stretching walls of Nightmare on Elm Street. The synthesizer-heavy theme is an unmistakable homage to director and composer John Carpenter, and the iconic scores of his Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, and The Thing. Halloween was a key part of the Duffer Brothers' original trailer, and in Halloween, like for Nancy, teen sexual experimentation is answered with violence from a dark force. The natural teen impulse to explore adult pleasures is tinged with fear and repression. Carpenter's The Fog also uses a radio as a medium to communicate with another dimension. We see a poster for The Thing in Mike's basement. Mr. Clark watches the film on VHS at home with his girlfriend. The final scene of Will coughing up the slug and not looking surprised, then lying to his family, suggests that Will could be a thing-like monster in Season 2, a shapeshifter that's taken on Will's appearance. The buyer's home is made to look a lot like the cabin in Evil Dead, and we see a poster for the Evil Dead in Jonathan's room.
Take that down. It's inappropriate.
These references evoke the Evil Dead's idea of being cursed, which is how Hopper feels in Stranger Things.
You ever feel cursed?
Bringing Will back from the dead lifts the curse Hopper feels has been weighing on him since losing his daughter. Nancy's romantic subplot with Steve comes from John Hughes' 16 Candles, 1984, about a nerdy girl attracting the attention of a popular boy at school. But Stranger Things develops this plot into something more complex, as Nancy starts to see past Steve's appeal, and Steve starts to grow a conscience.
I want to help.
The ending of Season 1, when we see Nancy with Steve instead of Jonathan, who we think she's fallen for, is reminiscent of the end of Pretty in Pink, where the girl ends up with the rich guy, even though he's kind of an asshole.
You're a liar!
Instead of her nice guy best friend who loves her.
Here's the point, Annie. I'm not particularly concerned with whether or not you like me. Because I live to like you, and I can't like you anymore.
Jonathan is associated with punk emo music. The Clash's Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Should I stay or should I go?
Is part of a flashback when Jonathan urges his brother Will not to be afraid to like stranger things instead of what's normal.
He's trying to force you to like normal things, and you shouldn't like things because people tell you you're supposed to.
Jonathan's punk soundtrack is a thread of the stranger that ultimately has more appeal than what's popular and normal. Nancy is first associated with 80s pop songs like Modern English's I Melt the World and Foreigner's Waiting for a Girl Like You. These 80s rom-com makeout songs place her in a John Hughes movie, like how Steve compares himself to Tom Cruise in Risky Business.
You know, Carol thinks I actually kind of look like him. What do you think? Just take those old records off the shelf.
But this changes over time as she hangs out with Jonathan and moves over to his more interesting soundtrack. Nancy also resembles Freaks and Geeks' Lindsay, a straight-A student who starts to stray from her square path. Lindsay is attracted to the school freaks, while Nancy is torn between freak Jonathan and cool kid Steve. But they're both exploring new social territory, triggered by their romantic attractions. Even their outfits look similar, and they have similar, distant and strained but well-intentioned relationships with their younger brothers.
No more secrets, okay? From now on, we tell each other everything.
Mike's best friends in Stranger Things feel a lot like the eponymous geeks of Freaks and Geeks. They play Dungeons & Dragons, and they have a friendly teacher who gives them perks due to their enthusiasm for learning.
Why don't we pick this up on...
Do you know anything about sensory deprivation tanks? Specifically how to build one?
Sensory deprivation? What is this for?
Fun.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about it?